Hey, and welcome to another edition of Matt and Neil Fight to Press Buttons. Always behind the scenes, we're always like trying to run the switchboard, and it's always pretty funny because I'll click on something and then it immediately deselects, and I think, what is wrong with this software? Only to realize it's not a technology problem. It's a human problem.
Yeah,
but
it's a Neil problem.
It's a Neil and Matt problem. We love doing things like that. And it's not, I would love to say it's intentional, but it's not. But there's that. So, but yeah, welcome. It's the 18th. Like, you've made it. It's almost June. Hopefully, you're happy about the temperature change. Things are going well for you. In technology news, things have been kind of all over the place. We've got, news coming out that Bill Gates maybe had a little undercover lover action going on at Microsoft and got a little finger wag. And then maybe that, that's probably why they're getting a divorce, he and Melinda, after so much time. And I'm sure there's they're building up for the next iPhone, because let's be honest, the moment the next iPhone comes out is when the next iPhone speculation begins. And I know that Worldwide Developer Conference actually will be coming up here, I think in June. And so I'm kind of interested to see that. And we can see how else Apple is trying to catch up with the rest of the world. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's throwing shade. But first, we actually have a story about microprocessors that don't have anything to do with the normal big names. You think like Intel, you think about AMD, but this is actually IBM with some pretty cool news. And here's Aaron with that story.
IBM claims it has taken a major step forward in chip technology by making the first 2-nanometer chip. The company says it has squeezed 50 billion transistors onto a single chip the size of one's fingernail. The architecture can help processor makers deliver a 45% performance boost with the same amount of power as current 7-nanometer based chips, or the same level of performance currently found today using 75% less energy, according to IBM. It's unclear when 2-nanometer processors will make their way into consumer devices like phones or laptops, but we're certain that announcing 2-nanometer chips and building them at scale are completely different challenges. IBM currently has plans to release its first commercial 7-nanometer processors this year, likely putting 2-nanometer processors at least a few years away from coming to laptops and phones. But it's good to know that their more powerful and efficient CPUs are in the pipeline already. Nerds, you let us know what you would do with 45% more phone performance or with an extra 2 days worth of phone battery. Back to you, nerds.
I was totally expecting a size matters joke or something out of Aaron on that, but you know what? It's fine.
Yeah, missed opportunity, but we're gonna move on from that. This is super cool. I think it's pretty insane how small we are getting things. So obviously there's a picture there that showed like a giant circular thing. That's like a bunch of those processors. So 2 nanometers is not like I can hold it in my hand like this and it's this big. Yeah, no, those are very, very small things. Like almost to an atom size is how close we're getting to that. It's super, super neat. Particularly since they are just now releasing the 7 and they're already saying that they're smaller and faster and more performing, which is why I put the meme in there. The math checks out. It's a little bit insane. This is super cool. I'm glad to see continued development in this area. I don't know how much smaller we can go though. So we might be getting pretty close to the end here.
I don't know. We'll see, I guess, right? I can imagine sub-nanometer process, but I mean, I also couldn't imagine a 2-nanometer process. So that's kind of crazy. But I'm excited to see, and it's kind of cool to see some of that news and stuff coming, like I said, out of somebody else for once.
Right, exactly. Some not so exciting news, more than likely, or hopefully, from my perspective. I hope you think this isn't great news. If you didn't know, the DoD or any government agency cannot collect your data, but they have found this clever little loophole to go ahead and get your data. And here's Aaron with that.
The Pentagon may be using commercial data to track Americans without due legal process, according to a letter from Senator Ron Wyden that was shared with Vice News. Senator Wyden asked the Department of Defense about mobile location and other data it had purchased from commercial sources following reports in the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere. And while the DoD did partially answer the senator's inquiry, several responses were reportedly redacted. For anyone who didn't know, it is illegal for government agencies to directly surveil Americans under the U.S. Fourth Amendment without a warrant. It is also illegal for law enforcement to access cell phone location data without a court order, as of a Supreme Court ruling in 2018. However, the Defense Intelligence Agency, a combat support agency under the Department of Defense, has decided that any data purchased commercially does not fall under these rules, placing themselves in the middle of a large gray area around data tracking versus purchasing tracked data. Where do we fall in this debate? Do we side more with Senator Wyden and his newly proposed legislation called the Fourth Amendment is Not for Sale Act, a little wordy for my taste, or is the DIA being clever and scrappy in their roundabout way of gaining access to this data they wanted? Take it away, nerds.
Once again, great editing, but and you know what? I'm going straight to hell, but I was headed there anyway. So I just thought, Senator Wyden, couldn't you find a bit? Did you intentionally try to find? Did you type Senator Wyden looks like Voldemort, and that was the picture that showed up? Because that was terrible.
I actually think that's from his official website, if I remember correctly.
No, that's
yeah, yeah. So I don't think Aaron's question, those answers are mutually exclusive. Yes, they are being clever and getting around a loophole that was left in the ruling. But yeah, it's basically they're getting access to data that they shouldn't have access to. Yes, technically they're not tracking you without a warrant, but they kind of are in a roundabout way. Is really what this is. And yeah, it's not okay. I was actually reading something today that said over half of Americans don't have control over their data. And so the only way to fix it is with legislation, which is 100% true. But yeah, this right here is a very clear example of that, right? We've given big tech a lot of leeway with collecting data, and now they're selling it to third parties, and those third parties are then selling it to government agencies that can't legally collect that data. So yes, are the DoD being smart by going by finding this loophole and exploiting it? Yes. Is it okay that they're doing that? I don't think so. But I'm a data privacy nerd. So what do you think, Matt?
I don't know. I think beyond that, if this is going to be a weird and maybe maybe a seemingly extreme example, but if I sell you drugs and you turn around and sell someone else those drugs, we're all in trouble. We're all culpable. It's just because, oh, well, you know what? I didn't directly sell it to that third party. It wasn't me. I just gave it to Neil, and whatever he did with it is his business. No, it's still wrong, right? And it's still clearly illegal, right? I think, I really is unfortunate that the ruling left this much wide open on it. But man, it's really time to close that loophole. So yeah, I want to see it done.
Yeah, 100%. And it's actually, I think, a better analogy, keeping with the drugs, is that I make the drugs and sell them to you, right? Yeah, so it's just the government agencies aren't making their own drugs. They're just buying them from someone else. It's still dirty.
Cool, man. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. So
also, Neil, if you're a cop, you have to tell me.
Oh yeah, exactly. So sounds like we're both on the same page here, and this is really not cool, and we really need to close this loophole. So we can't be tracked unlawfully.
And we should probably stop selling all those drugs.
Well, yeah, that too, but I'll leave that one to you.
In exciting news, I guess it'll be interesting to see kind of how this comes about. One of the things that annoys me the most, but I recognize it from a security standpoint, its importance, but that's the captchas that always pop up. And I feel like it's almost like going through TSA. I always feel like I'm randomly going to be screened. Like I'm the one that's going to have to go through like the extra pat down and all that kind of crap. So that's the way it is with the Captcha too. I always feel like, okay, great. I get to figure out, which of these are horses, or, how does this like mosaic black and white photo fit together? Stuff like, and it's always hard. My favorite ones are the ones that are like, type in the letter and numbers, and you do because you are a human. And it's like, nah. And you're like, what? Yeah. But Cloudflare is saying, one of the guys from Cloudflare are actually saying that, hey, you know what? Maybe the days of the Captcha are near to an end. And here's Aaron with more about that.
The company called Cloudflare wants to kill the Captcha. On Thursday, Cloudflare research engineer Thibault Monnier said in a blog post that the company was launching an experiment to end this madness and get rid of Captchas completely. Cloudflare's goal is to turn trusted security keys, such as the YubiKey range, HyperFido keys, and Thetis Fido U2F keys, into a way to attest to online entities that you are, in fact, human, by providing an online prompt that requires a security-based user interaction to complete offline. Normally, plugging in a USB or similar device into your computer, or by having it show up on your phone and interacting with it that way. Cloudflare describes their solution as 3 clicks, which takes about 5 seconds, as compared to the average 35 seconds for every Captcha that is completed online. What do you nerds think? Swapping out annoying Captchas for a keychain security fob? Hooray or nay?
I mean, I'm ready to ditch it, but I think the more important conversation to have is what was going on with the logo in the upper right-hand corner. That was super wild. Like we could have been Super Mario Brothers for all I know. Like there were some really interesting like visual artifacts going on in that video.
I thought you did it on purpose, so
no, to say
awesome. That like we aren't robots or we are robots or something.
Yeah, no, I mean it did look like some sort of commentary on, but no, I don't have that kind of time.
Okay. Well, you're not that creative, is what you're telling me.
I'm not.
Okay.
But man, can you imagine like if you do the math, right? If you were to be able to save, let's say, shave even 20 seconds off on per interaction with those captchas and multiply that times the number of people that get hit with that on a given, day, that's like a lot of time back, Does it feel like that though? Probably not, because on an individual basis, right? It's probably not happening that much. So I don't know. I think Cloudflare, I mean, obviously, like for them, it's probably the hosting of the images and it's being, beat up with that bandwidth. And, when you do the multiplication across that's where they're getting beat up. So, this isn't as altruistic maybe as it sounds. However, I'm a big fan because as I said, I really don't like the Captcha stuff anymore.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Captcha, but plugging in a key fob doesn't feel any better. Particularly on a MacBook where I have to have some sort of dongle to do that. Because thank you, Apple. Yeah, so I mean, it kind of sounds like they want to go the route of like a third-party authentication or like a two-factor authentication, route, which I could see being okay. But I think you're also still opening yourself up to like robots getting through that.
Sure.
So I mean, I'm not like I don't like Captcha, but I also don't like the solutions that they're proposing either. So I think that's kind of where I fall with that. Is like, yes, I'm okay with Captcha dying and going away. Like that's fine as long as it's being replaced with something that actually makes sense. And I'm not necessarily seeing that from like the two options that, for example, that Aaron gave. Huff
and puff every time I gotta go, to the like, key generator or something, and pull out a code to log onto our VPN.
Right.
And it's just like, I get it. I know why we're doing it, But yeah, I don't see that as much of a savings, I guess, on time or just frustration. So yeah, I think there's an answer. I just don't know that, to your point, that it's the one that's presented.
Yeah, well, that's all we have for today. So thank you for joining us on this edition of Tech Talk Tuesday. If you want to read up on any of the things that we talked about today, you can find the articles in the description below. And while you're there, how about you go ahead and follow, subscribe, and like the video. That way you don't miss any future editions of Tech Talk Tuesday, and you help us out with YouTube and Facebook's algorithm. That way we can reach more people and spread the tech knowledge even farther. Yeah, evil genius, yes. If you want your question answered live on the air, you can hit Matt or I up on Twitter. Matt's Twitter handle is @TheMattRay. And because he is unique, there's only one of them, and we are very happy about that. And my Twitter handle is @NeilTardy. Again, hit us up with any questions. We'd be happy to answer them on air and help you guys with any tech-related questions you have. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So please join us live. We love seeing all the viewers watching us and interacting with them as well. So, yeah, hope to see you next week. And with that, we'll see you next Tuesday.